float bowl here. It helps to actually fill the float bowl, and most of it did not go in the float bowl. How about we just do this? Just want to see if the thing will even pop off here. So ignition partially choked, and maybe so it doesn't build pressure on the tank. Is that a thing? I don't know. Oh, that sounded like spark. Let's try it one more time. Seems like a lot of fuel. Holy crap. She might just be a runner. I think we need to find a gas tank. Howdy my friends, and welcome to the channel today. I'm Luke, and I used to be Thunderhead2D9 here on YouTube. Now, you all have pleasantly reminded me that I was once a YouTuber, so today we're going to do a little bit of that YouTube action, just some life and times. So I got a big debacle here behind me. I need to get this tractor out, but in order to do that, I need to get this truck running, which hasn't ran in a really long time. This tractor has a flat tire, so there is a 302 air compressor that I've never ran ever, and I have no idea even if it runs, but hopefully I can use that to air up the tractor tire because I broke my compressor again. So got three things to get running, and I'm sure it's gonna get real weird. So we're starting off today 0 for 3. We got 3 chances to win, and we need to win on every single occasion. So it's gonna be exciting. This tractor tire here, this rig hasn't ran for quite some time. You can see all the cobwebs and everything going on and the tarantulas all over this thing, but it's gonna take some doing to get this tire aired up, and or else the whole thing's useless anyway. The old farm rig I retired. This is the new farm rig, and so I used this to move 2 or 3 years ago, and then I kind of just put it out to pasture. So under the hood here is a 390 FE, so we're gonna have to get that going. Pretty crusty in here, but she always was a good runner. Brought a battery down, so you know, hopefully we don't have to do too much to get it going, but you know how it is when stuff sits around. I've had my little buddy in here keeping watch, making sure nothing goes weird in the old barn. And then finally, our 302 air compressor, which is probably where we're going to start today. I don't know anything about it. The longer you look at it, the weirder it gets, because one side of the engine is an air compressor and the other side is a normal engine. Cobwebs everywhere. And the longer you look, although weird, it does just get cooler and cooler here. Porta-Air V8 100 has a governor on it, which is super neat. I guess we should check and make sure the throttle still works. I'm sure the accelerator pump's gonna leak like a sieve. Not a lot of hours on the thing in theory. This really would be probably a pretty fresh engine. Check the oil before we go to beating on it here, because you know it's not super easy to change the oil, as one can tell. And it has oil, but it's black, so that's good. So even though out of order, I kind of want to do the air compressor first, and I know you guys do too. I got hay on the ground out here, so that's why we're trying to get the tractor out with the hay rake and all that other goings on. So, oh man, getting weak in my old age. Toss this bad boy in the compressor and see what happens. All right, battery's in, I think. And I bought this bad boy on a whim. I just couldn't bear to see the thing go to scrap. You know, I'm sure it's not the most useful machine. On, off, ignition. Let's not do that, and let's just roll it over and see what happens here. But I don't know, you know, it's pretty neat. It's hard to believe it was gonna get smashed. And it turns over pretty good. Well, as good as something with half an engine is gonna, man, that thing sounds weird. Listen to it. Shaking all over the place. Terribly balanced, I'm sure. This was I don't know who made this, but I can't say that it's a great idea. Truth be told, hindsight 2020, this is probably a terrible idea to do first in case it bursts into flames, because then I can't back the truck out. So, I don't know. We're just gonna hope that doesn't happen. All right, get our little air filter off here. Just check out all the valving on this thing. I imagine all this isn't gonna work, and this thing isn't gonna do its job. Just, you wouldn't think someone would get rid of it otherwise, is my first thought. So off she goes. That'll totally stay there. Do-do. Give her a little spritz action. Maybe fill the bowl. Old Autolite, or Motorcraft rather, 2150 here, which was a terrible unit. It's hard to say when this thing was built. I assume sometime in the mid to late 70s. That's kind of what the vintage of Ford gear looks like. And just appreciate this nonsense. No cylinder head on this side. You know, this side, normal 302. This other side here, complete tomfoolery. I think this is the intake. These are the reed valves here, which are probably controlled by vacuum, question mark, not sure. Goes up here to this manifold through these cooling tubes, and then finally to the compressor tank. So pretty complex little apparatus here. Only fires some of the cylinders. The auxiliary cylinders are, of course, grounded, so it doesn't blow up the coil, because, you know, doing the wrong thing the right way here. All right, so ignition on, and does the choke work? Oh, it works pretty good. Give it just, okay, it doesn't work that good. Kind of works. It's a suggestion, we'll take it. So now, here we go. And to nobody's surprise, it sounds like it has no spark, as is tradition. So we'll shut that off before we blow our coil up. And it is a points ignition, so we're gonna try and just sand it and see if that fixes anything, you know, sand the points, the typical apparatus when something sits for a long time or for an eternity. It's kind of weird, you know, it's like a Ford Power Products. You know, it seems like a mid to late 70s unit, but then it has a points distributor, which is strange. And, you know, maybe someone put that in here because now it's got a vacuum advance, like if it was in a car. So it's, the longer you look, the weirder this thing gets. Giving her the old sandy sand here between the points just to clean up the contacts, because points do not work if they cannot ground. It's just, they're super simple, but this is definitely their one weakness to atmospheric corrosion and moisture, especially in a humid old building such as this one. Now, despite points being pretty simple, they're actually pretty robust, and it's pretty cool how they work. Basically, when the contact is closed, the coil is charging, and then when that contact is broken, it's just grounded. The coil is basically grounded, and those points, when they pop open, they break the ground connection to the coil, and at that point it discharges the spark. So simple, but super robust. And these Fords have the worst, the worst distributor clips, I tell you what. Man. All right, we're just gonna try and actually fill the float bowl here. It helps to actually fill the float bowl, and most of it did not go in the float bowl. How about we just do this? Just want to see if the thing will even pop off here. So ignition partially choked, and maybe so it doesn't build pressure on the tank. Is that a thing? I don't know. Oh, that sounded like spark. I'm kind of wondering here with the way the governor is, you know, it's kind of sitting there at full throttle, so it's probably fighting us to start it, maybe. I've never owned a 302 air compressor before. Give it a little more here now that maybe we have our bearings. Ignition on. That is a good sign. Had a rag stuffed in the exhaust spout, gave me a heart attack blowing out of there. All right. So apparently I didn't flood it, I just didn't have enough fuel in it. Let's try it one more time. Seems like a lot of fuel. Holy crap. She might just be a runner. I think we need to find a gas tank. Hopefully this isn't grand opening, grand closing here. I could hear the cooling system gurgling. It doesn't seem to have any coolant in it. And then I noticed this guy. So, you know, a stationary engine without a cooling system, that's probably a recipe for disaster and maybe why this thing was junked. Now when we're snagging our lawnmower gas tank, we'll look at a bare engine block because I'm really not sure how they pulled this off. I assume there's no lifters on this side because there's no cylinder head, and without rocker arms and push rods, there'd be nothing to hold the lifters in from just flying out. And the lifters are part of the oiling system. So, you know, we'll look at this block. I think I have a theory of what they did, and I'm curious what you guys think went on also, because I don't really want to take this apart to find out, but it's super interesting. Out here in the hall of abandoned projects, some of them better than others, I think there's a little gas tank over here with my lawnmower stuff because, you know, everyone has piles of lawnmowers. That'll probably work. Back behind our old supercharged 65, which I don't know, will we ever get it on the road? Probably not. Hard to say, is a 1,000 cobwebs. All right, old 351 Windsor block. So you can kind of see what's going on here, and there's little oil galleys in here. So what I assume they did with that compressor engine is they pressed in little inserts to block off one side of these oil galleys, or else the lifters would just, you know, fly out. But the cam, it doesn't need to touch anything. It's oiled by its own bearings there down the center. But I assume they just put little inserts and it works. So I don't know. That's my best guess. I'm curious to hear what you guys think because I genuinely have no idea. I've never seen one before and I don't know. Also, this car does run. And so while I'm walking back to the garage, roll clip on that bad boy. All right, here we go again. All right, so we're gonna give her another crack here. We got a gas tank, a fire extinguisher, because we used our brain. There's still a lot of things that need to work for this to be able to actually function, but hopefully we have a running engine now. It's got really good oil pressure. Curious if our fuel pump actually works. Governor works. Pretty cold-blooded. Probably just the carburetor's filthy. Definitely does not have a functional accelerator pump. Come on, baby. Lean. leaning out on us. Shucks. This has got to be the weirdest sounding 302 I've ever heard. I think we're going to get it. She's a little cold-blooded, and, you know, I'm just trying to get the hang of figuring out how to run a 302 air compressor because, you know, it's not every day you're doing that. If we can get our governor to behave here. That is incredible. This might be one of my favorite things I've ever owned, and I've owned a lot of weird and unique and cool stuff and done a lot of weird stuff, but that's the air intake there, and it totally had this cap sucked shut. So I bet you it runs a whole heck of a lot better now because basically it was locking up all the everything. It'll be better. All right, ignition on, choke closed. Oh, now it builds pressure like no tomorrow. Oh my God, it's actually regulating. It totally 100% works. This thing is like iced over. This whole tank is cold. That is an insane amount of volume. Good grief. With that open, it was building 90 pounds. And then when I closed it there, it went all the way up to 120 and then it stayed there. You know, I kind of figured, oh, this is probably a bomb and we're probably going to explode, but we didn't. It sat right at 120 and regulated. God, that is so cool. I just can't even believe it. I feel like I stumbled across a historical artifact at this point. I almost feel bad using the thing. It should be in like borderline a museum. I just picked it up with these other compressors. They're all bad. I just wanted the compressor tanks for a variety of things, but you know, It's just cool. I think we're gonna see if we can fire up the F-250 here and then see if we can air up the tractor tire. It probably air the thing up in like 3 seconds. It is an absurd amount of volume. I don't know if they use those in mines for sandblasters. It's way more than you need to air up something. It's gonna air this thing up like that fast. I'm gonna call that 1 for 3. I've stolen the battery here. We're gonna see if our old dusty F-250 can start and we can back this whole apparatus out of here. Be pretty nice. Oh boy. Battery's in. I heard the radio kind of turn on, so that's always a good sign. The mice haven't completely eaten up the wiring on this thing. Man, just the humidity in these buildings. You think you're parking something inside and preserving it, but time gets to everything. Unless you have an air-conditioned place, you leave stuff, but it's just wild what it does. And I fogged this engine out and pickled it, drained all the fuel in this truck because I just assumed I wouldn't be driving it for a long time, which has been pretty darn accurate. So we're gonna give it a little spritz, fill the float bowls here on the old Holly, which is probably ruined at this point. But one can hope. Okay, should be enough to do something. And even though this is a rusty piece of junk, I'm pretty sentimental with this rig. It was my only truck for a long time. It isn't worth anything, but I just don't want to get rid of it, I guess. It's always a good idea to block the clutch pedal when you park stuff for a long time, or else the clutch disc seizes. But this is the original, never been out of the truck engine, and it's got 190,000 miles. So the rear main seal leaks, and it does a great job of preventing all that from ever seizing. So here we go. I love it. That's why I can't sell this thing. This FE stuff, guys, it's really something. And this is naturally the only gas tank that doesn't have holes in it, probably because it's plastic. So it's about the only one that works. Holy, this little caterpillar guy. Oop, don't want to run you over into the hay. And this is one of those trucks that's, someday I'd like to restore the thing. And by that I mean just fix all the worn out clutch and the U-joints. It really just needs a good mechanical overhaul at this point. It did its duty, but it is pretty tired at this point. All right, let's see if this old FE can do what FEs do best. They always just pop right off. Granted, we don't have any fuel up to the carb really yet. Gonna make a liar out of me. There she goes. I love it. Using up all my good luck here, that means that there's going to be a calamity at some point, but I'm going to call that 2 for 3. We got our last one here. I'm going to get this F-250 pulled out, and then we're going to try and fire the tractor and use our new compressor. New is a relative term, to air up our tire. If not, blow our tire clean off the rim. I don't know. All right, see if it'll still go into gear. Will it actually move? It does. God, I love this thing. I'm going to use the hose here from this bad boy, and you might say, well, why didn't you just use this compressor to air up the tire? Well, I don't have any power in this building, and this compressor is seized. I literally bought these tanks for $5 together, and really I only bought them for the tanks, and I wanted this hose, which is going to work nice with this, maybe. All right, and 1, hose that might maybe not have a hole in it, we hope. So we're gonna throw that over there and see what happens. You know, I get chastised a lot on the old YouTubes here for making everything out of junk. I could have $1 million, I could have no money, and I would live the exact same way. You know, some of it is you can take the guy out of the trailer park, but you can't take the trailer park out of the dude. And the other end of it is I don't know. I just like doing stuff this way. I don't need any fancy lifts. This is how I did it when I was young. And it's just, for me, it's just rewarding. You know, there's just something special about using old machinery that people were throwing away, left for dead, you know, giving things another chance. Maybe we can all relate to that a little bit, and hopefully, if we're lucky, someday for us, someone does the same. And this old piece of junk tractor here, all it really needed was the gas tank cleaned out, which you can see it's still got a fair amount of schmoo that comes out of it, but cleaned that up and cleaned up the ignition, and she was a runner. Hopefully she can be again. These spiders are in for a rude awakening here. This battery probably should have charged it, but it is what it is. Okay, spiderweb fest. There we go. All right, she's gonna do something. So choke, throttle, ignition, or starter, whatever. Gonna blow our lid right off. Let's get that in frame. Oh, that was anticlimactic. Did our luck run out? Oh. All these tractors are so different, you just kind of forget how to run them. Having the ignition on probably makes a difference. I don't understand it. This thing can sit in a humid building forever and the points never corrode, unlike other stuff. It's very strange, but it's a solid runner, that's for sure. Great oil pressure. I mean, I can't believe someone just threw this away at an auction. Blows my mind. I'm gonna call that 3 for 3. We'll fire up our 302 air compressor and see if we can't blow this tire clean off the rim. Hopefully not, because I need this to do my hay work, like right now. All right, let's get this shut down. I have to say, I use a lot of Alice Chalmers tractors, but I do really like this Farmall. I think it is my favorite tractor, and I bought it completely by accident, but that's a story for a different day. Get in here in the spider webs. That wasn't supposed to come out. Can't say I've ever seen that before. Interesting. We're just going to thread that in, lube up the O-ring good, and act like I never saw that before is what we're trying to say while we're stroking out here. Put this on here and we'll be all right. All right, engage. 302 air compressor, choke is on. Yeah, that's casual. This is like super dangerous to stand here. It's reading like 90, 87, 90 PSI. Holy cow. Good God. That aired that thing up in rapid time. So overkill. Completely absurd. I mean, this thing is so stupid cool. Once it's a little cold-blooded, of course, but once it's warmed up here, oil pressure is good, it's making good pressure. I don't know if temp works, but the good thing is it's not blowing coolant out of the hole. All the valving must be working because it's at 120 and now it's not trying to suck air in. So however the reed valves and everything work, they're doing their job. God, that is just so cool. I mean, it runs really good for only being on 4 cylinders. That just absolutely blows my mind. I would have never have guessed. Governor works good. Everything's pretty darn good. A little hard on the ears. And the only thing that's squirrely about this thing, aside from everything else, is I assume it was meant to run continuously. If I shut it down and I don't open that air valve, I can almost hear it gurgling, probably because it's blowing the air back through past the piston rings, and it's the oil that I can hear gurgling actually. And so I just air it off when the thing's off. That makes sense to me, and I assume that's how it was designed to be used, but I don't know. It's, you know, look at the thing. It's the weirdest thing you've ever seen. A little bit of hot restart action. I want to see how it fires up once it has some temp into it. And I might as well, because might as well put air in the other tire while I'm here. So here we go. We'll give it a little bit of choke because the accelerator pump is definitely gone. Ignition on, and here we go. You can hear it purging through the engine itself. So that can't be a good thing. We're gonna open the valve. So again, one of the coolest things I've ever had the opportunity to own. If it didn't work, you know, it'd be one thing, but it's arguably like a historical item that it works this well. I've never seen one before in my life, and let alone, you know, to have one that actually works is just mind-boggling. So could you see that on the camera, that that fly go in my mouth? Holy cow. So I don't know what you guys think. I need an engine for a Mustang that I have, and I thought I was going to use the short block from this, but that's going to be pretty hard to do mentally at this point. So I don't know. What would you guys do with the thing? Is it useful? Is it just cumbersome? What is it? I don't know. It's whatever it is, it's dang cool. All right, finally getting to the farm stuff. Oh boy, cobwebs all over the place. I think we were successful today. Did everything we needed to do. Oh, at least got to the point where we can do what we're trying to do. It's worth something. Amazing how well this piece of junk runs. 1948 vintage. I think it's just about time for some new shoes, but I'm not sure yet. Out in the field here, we'll get our hay rake adjusted. I still can't believe this thing ended up in auction and it went for nothing. It looks like some kid's 4-H project. Hard to say. Real shame. So I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just gonna lower this in to where it's not skipping off the ground too bad, but it's doing its job still. I just don't want to snap the fingers off, you know. City kid though, don't exactly know what I'm doing. That looks pretty good. Our little engagement here, it's ground driven, so that engages the gearbox. So when we go forward, everything should spin, I hope. All right, just a little test pass here. There it goes. So I don't know, that height looks pretty good. So with this thing, with the hay rake, I like to run it in second gear. So we'll just get going. There we go. So since the humidity has gotten to our electric motor here, don't plug it in just yet. So it's seized up, we have to help it. Go ahead and plug it in. Good old hum. Give her a little flick and away she goes. Farming.